Well, hi everyone, and welcome to April's Conversations Across Generations from the Aspen Institute Center for Rising Generations. We're really excited to have you here for what I think is going to be an incredible conversation. And so this month, we're exploring the idea that service isn't just about helping, it's where leadership begins. And I'm joined by three incredible young leaders, Taylor, Esther, and Katie, who are each doing powerful work in their communities. And so, why don't we start with each of you sharing just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and one sentence about what you're involved in right now?
Sure. Well, I'll start. It's really good to be here. My name is Taylor Thigpen. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and I really work a lot around how young people can get involved in social action in their community, traveling across 5 continents to really get into communities and support their work and action.
Hi, I'm Esther Bonney. I am a student at the University of Maryland, College Park. I'm originally from Southern Maryland, and what I'm working on right now is I am the founding director of a youth-led nonprofit called Nurture Natives, with the mission of empowering young people through native biodiversity restoration and education.
And hello, I am Katie Collins. I am at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and I'm originally from a little tiny town called Charlotte, Tennessee. And I have started a project called See Yourself in Agriculture, which connects rural diverse youth to the worlds of agriculture so they can see what all it has to offer them.
Thank you for joining us today, Taylor, Esther, and Katie. So let's get right into it. So, Taylor, what was your first experience with service and what made it stick for you?
Sure. So, one of my really first experiences was my involvement in the 4-H program, which I recognize are two other people on the call who also have been 4-Hers. Oh, really, all of us, including you, Tay. But 4-H really helps young people get involved in their community and take action and work with community leaders and adults to build that service. So mine was really, being part of a local club and being able to do action and address things that I really care about with adults, with, politicians, with community leaders. And so that kind of got me into what I see as civic engagement and service.
Okay. And following up on that, what kept you coming back to service?
Yeah. I think really when you're in the community and get to see the people you impact, that's what really makes your mission-driven work successful. And that's what makes you want to keep coming back. It's hard to let go of the people that you meet and the conversations that you hear. And with my work, I've just been able to hear so many incredible stories by both young people and adults who are, looking for hope and ready to be change makers in their world. And I felt like bringing these people together is something that I was good at, and that is something that I always wanted to continue doing.
Mhm. And Esther, you're a current college student now. What has service taught you that you don't think you could have learned in the classroom?
You know, in a lot of my classes that I'm in nowadays, I'm learning this content and I'm constantly connecting it to the work that I'm doing. I'm in sociology, I'm in environmental policy. It's such a broad range of classes, and I'm always connecting it to how I can enhance the work that I'm doing. So it makes everything that I've learned in the classroom, I've learned inside club meetings, it just makes it that much more meaningful because it's like I can take this abstract concept and I can put it to action and I can use it to enhance my own work and my own actions. So it makes going to class a lot easier and a lot more interesting.
That is so beautiful. And it sounds like it even increases, and better embodies the way that you see your community.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Katie, was there a moment when you realized the issue wasn't just about helping people, it was something bigger, like a systems change that needed to happen?
So, yes, I have a really good example of that. I have done some international work in Cambodia and across Africa. And so when we were in Cambodia, we were going to local farms and before we left, we look at their profitability measures, their efficiency, and they're really low compared to global standards. And so before I went in there, I was like, we just need to bring technology and all those things that we have to enhance their efficiency. And you get over there and you're like, oh, this isn't because of lack of management skills or efficiency or practices. It's due to lack of infrastructure, resources. They don't have gas stations, so they can't even have equipment. And how are you going to run an equipment? And so you just see all of these things that you don't. have access to proper infrastructure or even proper resources. So how in the world should we expect you to increase your efficiency? And so I've learned a lot about that. And even through service, you are helping people and you talk to them and you listen to them and you think, oh, like there is a real reason why you're struggling. Um, you're not just here at the food pantry because nothing happened to you. You've had a hard life, and there are systems in the United States that just make it really hard to overcome those challenges. And so those are really good examples of how I've kind of seen that it's not really your problem. It's this whole system that kind of keeps you down there or makes it extremely difficult to get out of your situation.
Mm. And Taylor, I know you've done a great deal of international work as well. Have you seen
Sure.
this in some of the things that you've been a part of?
Oh, definitely. Everything Katie said was, really true. In my foundation, Local Hands Global Heart, we really work with people on the ground to work through the situations and the experiences that they actually have. So I mean, there are times that it really is just a lack of opportunity. That's really what it is when it comes to things like education. Many of the people we work with, we have a huge program in South Africa working with about 75 youth who have never had a formal education, working with our young people in Ukraine who are going through war and education has really been stopped. So that's one thing and one challenge that we have to work through. But then it comes the other things, as Katie said, where we look at lack of infrastructure, we look at lack of opportunities and knowledge, lack of technology. So a lot of times people will come in, especially from places like, the United States or the United Kingdom, and they'll have all these ideas with major technology. But I really like to use a term called human-centered design, where I'm working with the people on the ground to work with the challenges and work with the experiences that they have to build real solutions. So a lot of systems are doing great work, but a lot are really messed up and don't actually go in to think of long-term solutions, right? They're just going in to do a simple thing, take a pretty photo and move on and not making real change. And we see that with the increasing number of, philanthropy or business that wants to get involved in something that they feel is cute when these are real lives that we're trying to work on.
And so what I hear from all of you, is like this through line that service builds that initial awareness. And there is this like systems change that needs to happen. We need to address those issues, but also, Taylor, what you're speaking to, we also have to like leverage the human potential, and try to
Sure.
change hearts and minds to realize and observe the and respect the humanity in each one of us. Esther, I know the nonprofit that you started, has a very personal origin story, but you've been able to build this into a broader movement that's been centered, in a sense, as Taylor was saying, on humans, and the connections there. Can you speak to some of the work that you're doing through your organization?
Yeah, it kind of ties back to what we were discussing earlier. So, in 2019, I was 12, about to turn 13, and I lost my older brother James to suicide. And that was, unbearably painful. And when something happens like that, the pain doesn't go away. And I spent so many hours and so many days just by my local creek, just being alone and being in the silence. And I found a real love for the plants and the animals and the creek that surrounded me. And I just found a lot of peace there. And this love that I had for especially for the plants that I saw just go through these seasons and thrive and continue to grow. I found it to be a really powerful personality for myself. And I was like, I want to bring this analogy to others and I want to do what I can to protect these species. And in my work every day, I mean, talking about centering the human voice in my service, what I love the most is just talking to other community members and talking to other youth and listening to their stories. And mental health and suicide awareness they're always on the forefront of my mind. And that that seeps into my work, into every aspect. And I love listening to youth and listening to both their goals and their concerns and their struggles and speaking to the power of service and of youth-led action and purpose and meaning. That's just something that is very, very close to my heart. And I strive to find it in everything that I do and to speak to other youth and inspire them to find it as well.
Thank you, Katie, for that. And all of you have been outstanding leaders, in speaking to younger generations and encouraging them to be involved in service. But I guess, Katie, I would love to hear your perspective. What do you think adults often misunderstand about young people in service?
I really think the biggest misconception is that it's just volunteering. You
Mm,
just went out to volunteer for 4 hours, you did some free labor, and great, that's really good. Um, but I think when I think about service, I think about so much more. You gain perspective on local issues, you get to talk to your community members, you get to see real life issues and not just things that happen to you. I mean, you are a part of a community, and through a lot of the service that I've done, I've met other people and realized, like, wow, like we live in the same community, but our lives and worlds are so different. And so it gives you a broader perspective on your community in general. And so when you work through service, you're gaining leadership skills, learning how to listen, learning how to take other people's ideas, learning how to just sit with people who are so different from you. Um, and then you kind of turn that into like a problem solving. You're helping and you're doing all of these things. And so your 4 hours of volunteering aren't just volunteering, you're learning so much. And I think that's really missed in what a misunderstanding of service to adults.
sure thing. Taylor, I would love your thoughts on that as well. What do you think adults misunderstand about young people in service?
Yeah, I mean, every organization, one of the big things is just really the power of young people. I mean, I'm a young person and I'm a big believer in the stories and the young people that I've met that, we're not just the leaders of tomorrow, we're really the leaders of today. And young people across the world are really taking that into account. And organizations are starting to realize that, and the ones who aren't are really starting to fail in that realm. So, with the Aspen Institute and the rising generations, they've really noticed the power of young people and connecting them into their work and their conversations, which is just amazing to be a part of that. So I think a lot of adults, really need to kind of step up about having young voices on their boards and in their conversations and their planning, because the future that adults are planning for are the future that we're going to have to live, right? And I love what Katie said too, because it's so true that often we think that service is just let me do something good, plant a community garden, but you're being a member of, your community, you're civically engaged and you're being active. So it should not just be a give, but you're getting a lot from that. And, I think adults, when they set requirements for volunteer hours or something, we look at it more as just doing good, but not always thinking through what we personally get and how we can take that into our lives.
Yes. So it's transformative on so many levels beyond just the individual itself. I would love to get maybe a final call to action from y'all to the audience out there who might be tuning in and watching this. What would you like to say to them to compel them to be active in service?
I would say, I mean, I going back to the last question, what I would say is I wish that more adults took youth seriously. And tying this into my call to action, surround yourself with people that will support you and that believe in you. I feel that I was able to find my voice in 4-H because I felt taken seriously by the adults that were around me. So be conscious of how you're shaping your community. And if you have a big idea, don't let anyone stomp on it. Don't let anyone tell you different. I mean, you can I truly believe if you have the passion and you're willing to work hard, you really can do anything you put your mind to.
Great. Yeah, my advice would just be bold and be a little crazy, because that's really what you have to do to make change. You can't always listen to what others are going to tell you to do or the path that you should take. You have to be bold and you have to be able to put action and not just talk. And young people are really good at that. And using that term I talked about earlier, the human-centered design, about working and talking with the communities that you are trying to make an impact through. Prototyping before you jump right in will make you a lot more successful in what you're trying to accomplish.
I'm gonna say through service, I have found my why and my passion. And so if you feel like really stuck and lost, like go do some service. It really helps you find out who you are and what you're really passionate about. And so that's really my advice. And we have a saying in the world that the research and kind of the international experience world that I have is that good intentions don't always equal good outcomes. And so the ability to refocus and do that and find your purpose and implementation matters just as much. And so finding your purpose and finding your why through service has been really life-changing to me. And that quote has always stuck with me when I face failure. And, I have a good intention, doesn't always mean it's going to be a good outcome, but we can keep going.
So what I'm hearing from all of you, is that service is so much more than just showing up. It's the very beginning, this like initial observation and doing something about what's around us. But it's also how we start to not only see the needs that need to change, but step up and actually do something about it and lean in and build relationships with other people. And that's so inspiring. So for everyone watching, we'd love to hear from you. Where has service shaped how you see your community and your leadership? And once again, a huge thank you to Esther, Taylor, and Katie for sharing your perspectives and your leadership with us today. And I know we were all a part of 4-H. And as you were talking, I'm just thinking in my mind, it all ties back to that initial pledge that we learned. I pledged my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living, not for myself, but for my club, my community, my country, and my world. And you all embody that so well. So thank you for being the servant leaders that you are. And if this conversation resonates with you, make sure that you like it, share it, and join us on the next conversation across generations. So thank you so much for joining us. And thanks again, guys, for the conversation.
Thanks, guys.